In this episode, we talk about what it's like to have everyone you've ever loved try to drown you in silicone. Here on Kapow! So this is a video I've been trying to make for over a year now. For my 30th birthday, I had one request for my family: cover me in silicone so that I might immortalize my youth. And you know, for cool hobby stuff. But seriously though, if you're going to do this, make sure you have a few friends to help you out, or family members, basically anybody you trust not to kill you. So what do we need to do this? Body double silk, body double standard. Either one will work, but you can combine them both. Bald cap, can't be latex. Prozade adhesive to adhere it on. A whole ton of plaster bandages, and conditioning cream to protect your facial hair. Other stuff you might need: tape, trash bag, Sharpie, 5-gallon bucket, tongue depressors for mixing, disposable cups to mix in, cotton balls, a very supportive family. Wow. There's a typed out version of the supply list on my Patreon, link in the description. But I've also linked everything else that I've used as a resource, so if you want to go and do that on your own as well, you're welcome to it. Or you can just take notes as you're watching this video. Before you get started, you're going to want to separate your parts A and B out of whatever silicone you decide to go with. I went with a mix only because they were out of one, and thankfully you can combine them. Not parts A and B, that is very important. Part A and part B should be from the same system, but you can put them on top of one another and they will adhere to each other without issue. Parse out A and B into separate cups. We want these to be in small batches, so it's much easier to mix up before it cures. Just as a side note, for the silk versus the standard, silk is just a little bit better at picking up finer details, as well as it's supposed to be a little bit kinder to facial hair. Additionally, you'll want to cut the majority of your bandages into lengths of 24 inches, but fold it over 4 times. Alright, so let's do this thing. Remove your shirt, put your finest trash bag dress on, tape around the edges. Now put on your bald cap and trim all of the excess.
I was supposed to hang out with my coworker for, today, but I totally forgot about that. So, I was like, so I can't even make this up, but we're gonna make a cast of my brother-in-law's head. She's like, okay, that's weird.
You'll want to put Prozade around the edges so that none of the silicone leaks in under the bald cap. Next, you'll want to grab that deep conditioner I recommended and shove it all over your eyebrows and really any other facial hair that you might have. So now, you're going to want to start mixing your silicones. Once you have part A and B mixed up, you're going to want to apply that to the ears first. Really get in there.
How does that feel? Deep enough? How deep am I?
From that point, you're going to want to cover the entire seam around the base of the area that you will be covering in silicone. So after that, time to smear that shit all over the face.
I mean, make yourself at home.
Make sure that you get in all the different cracks and crevices of the face so that all the detail is picked up. So in my case, I use about 2 pints of the silicone, which is 2 kits.
It looks pretty cool. It really does.
You look like the tastiest cake right now.
Yeah, most people just want to go out and get drunk.
I know.
That's what wants.
30. I'm turning 30.
Why can't you be normal?
Yeah, kid. You're looking a little blue in the face. Whole new appreciation for those shows where they make like monster suits.
Now it's time to take some of your plaster wraps that you've been saving aside and dunk them in a bucket of water. Make sure you're not doing this in your sink, because not only will it cover your sink in plaster, but it's really bad for your drain. So don't do that. Just don't do that. For these first couple pieces, you're going to actually want to fold them over on their short side about 3 times, so you have a nice long, thin strip. You'll be using this to create a seam or a border between the front and the back. The plaster wraps themselves are actually being used to create what's called a mother mold. A mother mold is essentially the mold on the outside of the silicone to give your mold a more rigid shape. If you didn't have the mother mold, that silicone is just gonna flop all over the place. For more permanent molds, you would end up actually making the mother mold out of something like fiberglass, which would be a lot more durable. For our purposes, I just needed one good casting. Now, if I get more than one good casting, that's freaking awesome. But as long as I get one, that means this was successful. Now with these plaster bandages, start from the top and work your way down. As I mentioned before, we want the front and the back to be two separate pieces, or else you'll be permanently casting your loved one in this mold. Once you've gone from the crown of the head along the side of the head and to the top of the shoulders, you'll want to go all along the front of the base of where the mold will be. Next, you'll want to take a small piece and run it from where your eyebrows meet down along the bridge of your nose, past your nostrils, but not covering them. I mean it, don't cover them. And then past over the lips. And then from there, you'll want to use pieces to help kind of support that and build it up. You'll want to be fairly quick with this because the plaster itself, its working time is kind of short. Once the whole front of the mother mold has been created, you're going to want to take wet paper towels and place them all along the edge where side 1 and side 2 are going to meet. The wet paper towels are going to help prevent the two sides from bonding, which is very, 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 very important. So now it's time to cover the back. The back is far simpler, but again, we need to make sure that the only places where it overlaps are on top of the wet paper towels you've laid down. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a chisel to your loved one's head. And even if that sounds tempting, don't do it.
Hello?
What's up, Mom? Alright, we're in the middle of plastering Alicia's head, so.
Oh, geez, that's right. Okay.
Once both sides are mostly cured, what you'll need to do is you want to make little tick marks along the sides of the mold. Basically, what these are going to do is they're going to help you line up the front and the back after you take it apart. To check whether or not the mold has been fully cured, just check the last spot that you put a bandage on. If it's still generating a lot of heat, then you're going to want to wait a little bit. But if it's starting to cool off, more than likely, you should be pretty good.
Get a sense of it. I mean, even that's like not tacky, but it's just.
Wow, is anyone in there?
Overall, the very last piece that you put on should take about 10 minutes to set. Once it has, if you've done it correctly and you were very careful about only overlapping on the wet paper towels, it should come apart pretty easily. Once you've done that, put them aside safely where no one's going to step on them. And now it's time to cut the silicone. From the base of the mold along the spine, you're going to want to cut up the silicone in a zigzag fashion. While doing this, try to create some separation between the silicone and the scissors so that you don't end up cutting your friend. Take your time here. There is no need to rush. It's better to be safe. You are, after all, running scissors up your friend's spine. You'll want to continue the zigzag cut all the way up to just before the crown of the head. Then afterwards, you're going to want to slowly peel the silicone off. Be very careful not to tear it, especially where you've just cut into it. The silicone itself should be pretty durable if you put on enough layers and enough of an even coat all around, but caution is still a good idea.
Oh, I mean, it's a face.
Yeah, that's cool. I see it.
Aww, adorable.
Oh, this is weird.
Well, how do you feel after being in carbonite for about like an hour, 2 hours maybe in total?
Oh, weird.
All right, who wants to put it on?
Maybe once it's not sweaty. So at any point were you freaking out?
No, it's, the only thing I'd recommend for the next person to do this to is a more comfortable chair.
And I thought like your stomach was moving really fast, and I was like, oh god, is he freaking out in there? I don't want to say anything.
Are you freaking out?
I'm freaking out.
No, it's good. I would say there was actually twice where I almost fell asleep, and I There's a good chance I would have, if not for the fact that Alex cracked a joke every once in a while. If not for that, I definitely would have fallen asleep.
You cut your hair today.
Okay, so you successfully created a mold. Now what? In my case, it was actually a couple months before I got a chance to cast the bust. First, I put the silicone mold back within the mother mold, making sure that both halves were lined up properly. Then I covered the whole mold in duct tape and then made sure that the zigzag pattern that was cut into the silicone mold properly lined up. After that, I took the whole mold and put it upside down in a box. That way it's properly supported and relatively even. So after that was done, it was time to prepare the Hydrocal. So I only needed about half a bag of Hydrocal, which in my case was 25 pounds. So I mixed 45 parts water with 100 parts Hydrocal. In this case, I needed about 25 pounds of Hydrocal. I bought my Hydrocal from monstermakers.com, not sponsored, and so the bag it came in was about 50 pounds, so I only needed roughly half of it. Once all mixed up, I donned my super sophisticated scientific arm protection and made sure to fill the mold only part way, just enough so that I can then dig my arms into the Hydrocal and slosh it around and make sure it got into all the different crevices without any air bubbles. Be careful with this stuff. It's no joke. You can get chemical burns, and it's certainly not the stuff that you might have made a plaster mold of your hand with when you were a kid. If it cures fast enough, you could get your hand stuck in there, and nobody wants to lose a hand. But seriously, I hold no responsibility for what you do with this stuff. Please be careful. But anyhow, so after waiting overnight, it was time to finally release the bust of my head out of this mold. So,
Don't film me.
I mean,
I just woke up. I woke up like this. You followed my advice and everything worked out perfect.
yeah, no, that's so rare that happens that way. A good thing we got it on camera, and I can't imagine it's ever gonna happen again, so we might as well.
Oh my gosh, just
put something
reveal it.
there.
Just take it off.
Alright.
Oh my gosh, another Elisha. Oh, I can only see it through the Wow. Oh, that's creepy as heck. Wow. Well, it looks like you definitely.
Why? Because that's creepy as heck?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Ew. That's so disturbing. Because it looks just like, I mean, obviously it's up your face, so obviously it looks just like you. But, like, it's creepy.
Thanks.
Okay, can I stop filming?
Yes.
Okay.
So as always, thank you for watching. Again, if you plan on attempting this, I have the full list on my Patreon of all the different things I needed, as well as links to most of them. Links to that, as well as the rest of my social stuff, and all of the different resources I used and am so grateful for to make this video and the bust of my head. With that said, until next time, try something new.